Welcome to Yelling Into the Void, a podcast discussing and exploring topics in World of Warcraft. I'm Tevin. I'm joined by Scott, and it's been a couple of months, and I'm still just as in need of a haircut as I was a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
Just don't tell my mom, Scott, because she might have my ass.
Okay. What's Yeah, I'm definitely not texting your mother right now. Don't worry about
Season 2 is well underway,
Yeah.
Scott. It has been a while. You and I have been kind of interacting with it here. For you, the past couple weeks. For myself, I've been kind of going in and out of this season pretty heavily. I've got like 4 characters that are 660 plus at
Holy
this point.
shit!
2 of them are pretty close to 670.
That's
But there are other things happening.
Oh my
Hall
God.
of Fame is closing. I guess we'll go over it a little bit more, but maybe not in this episode, but next episode. The whole Hall of Fame situation has been an absolute shit show this tier. So that might be like a whole nother discussion in and of itself. 1117 is on the horizon. But to get started on everything, Scott, I think that it's best for us to kind of just rewind, go back to kind of where we left off, which is right after the race had started.
Yeah.
And maybe take it kind of step by step, skip over some unimportant things, and then go from there. And then we'll end with our initial thoughts about 1117. And as I'm sure all of you are aware, some of the drama that's going around what's coming with 1117.
Yeah, so I think we need to offer a little bit of an explanation here, right? We excitedly talked about the start of the season and the start of the raid, and we're pumped for it, and we had all these plans and dreams, and then we disappeared into the nether and were never heard from again until the portal reopened here on this wonderful Monday evening. So, I mean, essentially what happened from my perspective is I had some real life stuff very suddenly come up that made it so I was like, I don't think I can play this game anymore. I got to deal with this stuff. And it was very sudden and quick, and that's why there was basically no notice. I basically reached out to Tevin and was like, hey, by the way, I can't make raid this week or ever. And so I took a month off from the game, a complete month off. Basically the entire month of March, I didn't touch this game or any game. I was busy with stuff in my life and trying to get things in order. And it became apparent to me near the end of the month that, okay, I feel like I have a better handle on things. I'm going to be able to come back to the game. And I was cautiously like, okay, well, maybe we'll come back to the show as well. But it was the reason I bring it up is not just to offer an explanation, because there was kind of a weird thing that happened to me where I don't get to play this game as much as a lot of people, yourself included. And there's always a weird thing that happens at the beginning of season where I have this like horrible FOMO, where like I'm at work, I know everyone's playing, or I'm doing my responsibilities at home, and yada, 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 et cetera, and I just feel like I'm missing out. And the cool thing about taking a month off and also like figuring I'm not going to play this game anymore, eventually that just goes away. Like that feeling, like I'm not going to lie and say that I never felt that way during the course of the 30 days I didn't play at all. But eventually just goes away. And my return to the game was not met with, all right, I gotta catch up. It was just like, oh, cool. This is fun. This is neat. I've been enjoying the game just generally. I got AOTC since I got back. I'm sitting at like 28 something item low or IO on my one character. I know I had this grand dream to get 3K on all healers. Probably not doing that. That's probably not happening. But like, no, I've been enjoying the game. I wouldn't say casually, because I've like been pushing keys and like trying to improve and doing that kind of stuff. But definitely like at a more relaxed pace where I'm just kind of enjoying it. I'm enjoying having fun, and sometimes like absence makes the heart grow fonder, and sometimes it also allows you to like retool and like reanalyze like what you want out of this thing. You get so into the grind that's all you're thinking about, and it's like, am I interested in the grind? Yeah, I enjoy the grind of these type of games, but like, I don't know, man, I'm just enjoying myself. It's just been a fun experience coming back to the game, and I've just I'm not stressed out about anything. I'm not feeling like I have to play every day. I'm just like, you know, well, I'll hop on when I have time and push some keys and have some fun. And I've been liking it.
Well, I've got to say, it's been nice to have you back and actually have like a reliable healer to carry me through what has been an honestly very good season. And maybe this is a really good segue into
Yeah.
kind of our review of the season so far. So Scott has been back to the game for longer than we are really covering in this show, I guess. Like, it isn't like he came back yesterday and then we started this show back up today.
Yeah. No,
He's been playing for a little bit.
I think
So
by the time this comes out, it'll be just the end of April. And I've been back basically the entire month of April.
mhm. So, I think the main thing that I want to touch on, Scott, is kind of how Mythic Plus is feeling for me. I do want to talk about
Yeah.
the raid too. The raid is in a bit of a weird situation for Scott and I. We've talked about it on the show before, but after our guild gets AOTC, then we kind of start to fluctuate a little bit
Yeah.
and numbers start to dwindle and then we stop raid. And so, like, that is kind of where we're at right now. We got AOTC 2 weeks ago. We got our re-clear done this last week. But yeah, so we'll cover Mythic Plus first, and then we'll touch a little bit on the raid because I do think the raid is still good. Like, it is still a good part of this season. So
Oh.
first things first, though, dungeon pool, Scott. I don't know how you're feeling, but I really don't have a key in which I get it, and I'm like, God damn it, it's this place again this season.
Yeah, I found the same way. Like, again, I'm a month behind everyone, so you're a month sicker of these dungeons than I am. But that being said, I like them all. I think the big exception that, I mean, maybe I didn't see this coming is Theater of Pain, where it's not even that like I don't like. I just find that it's just dull to me. It's just kind of
It's
dull.
stale. Yeah.
And like especially the one wing with the mini bosses that you're just fighting a gauntlet of mini bosses. I get so bored of that one. Like it's just they take so long to kill and it's so boring and it's like it's not that it's not challenging. I mean, one of those mini bosses, the one everyone skips now, is pretty hard to heal through, but it's just not very interesting. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, like I like all these keys. I think they're really fun to play. They have different levels of challenges. It's not that they're all easy. Like I don't like them because they're easy. There's definitely hard ones in there. It's funny that like some of the easiest dungeons are the ones that require the most from the healers. Like Dark Flame Cleft is like a free key timer wise and is most people's easiest dungeon. And I think that's true, except it has the hardest heal check boss in the season, in Candle King, which is stressful, very very stressful, but like in a fun way. And like it's also fun to go on a healer that is really good at those kind of rot fights, like my druid, and just breeze through it. Like I did a 10 dark flame on my like no gear druid, and it was not bad at all. And I got a little overconfident because I was like, oh, I can do 10s on my druids, and then we hopped into a 10 priory, and I was like, nope, can't do it. But yeah, no, I mean, like I don't. I mean, I definitely have dungeons I like more than others, for
Yep.
sure. But there's never, yeah, I agree with you. There's not one that I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this. I'm just not gonna play today. Actually,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do gotta say though, Scott, I think you're incorrect. I think the boss or the dungeon with the hardest healing boss is actually Floodgate, and it isn't even a boss. It's the Bubbles boss.
man, like, why do they do like? I think mini bosses are now my least favorite thing in Mythic Plus. Like, and it seems like they're really committed to like constantly throwing mini bosses at you. I mean, the hardest part about Bubbles is that it comes right after not the most intense, but a fairly intense healing boss. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, almost every healer will enter the fight with Bubbles with all their healing cooldowns down, to where, you know, where I'm about to need this and I just don't have it. And I mean, luckily for Monk, like Monk, I'm playing Mistweaver primarily, and it has its cooldowns come up pretty fast, and I've learned how to deal with Bubbles. But yeah, it's definitely harder than the boss before it and the boss after it, for sure.
Mm.
Fucking Bubbles.
So all of this though, really to say, and I think this is a major point of the season, and maybe why I feel so good about it. But like, I don't know. Tell me how you feel. It feels like they just like nailed the difficulty this season. Whereas
Yeah.
like last season was just like way too reactionary from what it was from season 3 and 4 of Dragonflight on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And I feel like we have finally hit like a very good middle ground as far as difficulty is concerned.
I agree, and I think part of that is their near constant addressing of difficulty throughout the season. I mean, I wasn't playing the first month, but I was still just connected enough to see the notifications about we've nerfed this, we've nerfed that. Like they've been very active these past 2 months in constantly analyzing the dungeons, and if something it's clearly on a level that's too hard comparatively to other dungeons or other events or other things, we're going to scale it back a little bit. And they've done that pretty consistently. And if that's created a situation where we got in a place where things are good. Like even like the Candle King, they fixed a bug on Candle King because it was supposed to do a healing absorb on all 3 people that were targeted by the circle. It wasn't working. It was only putting a heal absorb on one of them. They fixed it, which is fine. They should fix stuff that's broken. But then almost immediately after they fixed it, they were like, oh, wait, this makes it too hard, actually. And so they scaled back the healing absorb a little bit. And it's just like, it feels like constant tinkering and measuring and adjusting as needed. Like it feels like they're actively paying attention and looking at data and making adjustments as necessary. And ultimately, that's what we want, right? Like no one's going to get it right and perfect from the get-go. Like you can do infinity testing and still some stuff is just a little bit off. What we want is this feeling that they're paying attention to the issues, and not just the issues that we're talking about, but just the issues that they're seeing in their own data and adjusting as they need to. And I mean, like 100%, my impression of the season has been that they are doing that consistently and often. And I think they're pretty much there. Like I would expect from here on out, we're not going to see very many dungeon adjustments anymore. And it's because they've done it. It's taken 2 months, but they've done it.
Yeah. The other part of this, though, while you're talking about changes that they've made, the visual changes they've made this season,
Oh my
like
God.
they need to keep doing this shit every
Oh my
season.
God. Yeah.
Like all of Theater of Pain, everything that was annoying in that dungeon now is clear. Like you can see if you're going to get hit by a tornado. You can see what way they're fucking facing finally.
Yeah.
You can see if you're going to get hit by a sword because it has a ring around it. Like you can see everything. And if they continue to do this like visual clarity shit on top of actually addressing bosses that are difficult or trash mobs that are difficult, it's just going to continue to be good.
Yeah.
Because like half the time when you bitch about WoW, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's not because something's too hard. Half the time it's because it's just annoying. Like
Yeah.
you can't tell what's going on. There's no visual clarity. You don't know what's going to happen. And so the fact that they made these new indicators, which was step 1, and now they're starting to implement them into even older content
Yeah.
is just like that's going above and beyond what I expected, and it is making things feel just infinitely better.
It was a very weird experience coming back to the game after a month and playing the dungeons that I had played in the first week of the season. And then suddenly, like, wait a minute, I get to see a circle there. Or the guys that blow you off at the platform in Theater of Pain. It's like suddenly that has a big line. And now you have no excuse to ever get hit by that ever again for the rest of forever. I mean, because I like with frontals and with beam attacks and stuff like that face certain directions. Like in theory, it's easy to look at the boss or the mob and be like, okay, they're facing that direction. I need to not be facing that direction. But between the swirlies on the ground, between the spell effects going off and the numbers flying on your screen, like the screen can get very cluttered. And us old men, I say us as like me, not you, of course. Us old men have trouble seeing that stuff. And so like definitely there were times when like telling which direction at any given time a mob was facing was tough for me. So put this shit on the ground, do it that way. And I think it's working, and I love it. I love it so much.
So the other major change that they made going into this season, Scott, was the rewards. And we've talked about this before, how the reward structure kind of changed to where like we're getting an additional mount now. There's an additional kind of step. And I think that as long as we can kind of take what they've been doing and give them credit where credit's due, they have the potential to keep doing this. And if they have the
Mhm.
potential to keep doing this, that means we could have more and more and more and more levels at which we're getting rewards.
Yeah.
Maybe that's in between the levels that we already have. And maybe it's completely different rewards. But they did that on top of also like giving us a completely new mount model for KSM against KSM last season, which is huge. Like
Yeah.
that is things they have never done before, and that makes things feel way more rewarding and way more fun to push for because it isn't just, oh, I already have this mount, it's just a new color.
Yeah, I'm gonna get 3K this season. I haven't gotten there quite yet. I have no doubt. I've timed a 13 and a few 12s, and I've just got to kind of beef up the rest of my keys, and I'll get there. And I'm excited about it because yeah, there's something to chase for. I think the change that you mentioned that I mean that most affected me was the switch to crests, and the amount of crests you get for a completion. Because I obviously, I maybe got 40 gilded crests before I quit the game.
Hmm.
And I came back to a game in which like 700 or so were available. And like we've talked about the Crest Mountain for alts. Well, I was experiencing Crest Mountain for a main, and it was so much quicker. It was so much easier. It felt surmountable ultimately. Like I think that's part of the reason why I wasn't feeling like the pressure of grinding and the pressure of playing, and then like the way I felt it in this game in the past, and the way I've been able to just take it more casually and just kind of enjoy it is because I never felt like I have to do this many keys if I'm gonna like there's so many I have to do to get there. I
Yep.
mean, I did not max on my crest the first week I came back, but I did on the second week. And like I didn't do
Mhm.
that many keys. It's just like when you're doing tens and above, you're getting 16 up to 20 crests a run on a timed key. And that, I
Mhm.
mean, when you only need 90 a week, that you max in 5, right? Like you
Yep.
max in 5 keys. And that's so much better. And now I'm in a situation where I maxed on gilded and I maxed on ruined, um, and I've got this saved ruined amount that I'm going to be able to easily up convert the second um, the crest cap unlocks, and I'm just going to hoard those and then up convert them to get some more quickly,
Yep.
to get into the thing we'll talk about here in a sec. But like it just feels so much better. It feels so much better. Like I just remember the feeling when you would roll a new alt in season 1 and just how much work there was to do. And we felt the benefits of that when they made like these changes are not season 2 changes, right? They were changes they made at the end of season 1 that they rolled forward into season 2. But this is the
Yep.
first season we've had it from the beginning. And yeah, it's the first time that I've been so far behind in the game just generally and had to come back, and oh my god, it is so much better.
It's infinitely better. I wouldn't have 4 characters at 660 plus if this wasn't a thing. Like I can go in and I can do like get my character up to 640 or whatever, start doing sevens, which is awarding me already a decent amount of gilded crests at each completion. And
Mhm.
then as I get more gear, I can push myself to do tens, which then lets me get crafted pieces. And like it's just this snowball effect. And it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I really hope they don't ever walk this back because I think it is one thing that is causing a lot of people to continue to interact with the system. And I don't think that we need to be concerned about them walking it back because, like you alluded to already, there's something we're going to talk about here at the end of the show or closer to the end of the show, which is just going to cause you to continue to want to get crests.
Yeah.
And I think that that is it's a better way to go about it. It's weird how they're implementing it, but it's a better way to go about it than walking back the change and saying,
Yeah.
okay, well, people got gear too quickly and now we need to rein it in next season. And then it becomes a complete problem again.
Yeah.
The other major reward change that they made, and we haven't talked about it yet, I just unlocked it on my hunter about a week ago, but the resilient keystones.
Yeah. Yeah.
The once you time all 12s, then your key can't deplete below a 12 and so on and so on. uh yeah, that's super nice. I've got to say I have unlocked that, I have not completed a 12 on my hunter since unlocking it. Uh, and I still have a 12 key. So like it's amazing. I've just been playing some alts, so like I haven't had the time to finish my hunter off. I think it's at like 2950. I need to get like 50 more IO and then I'll be good to go. And try and get the next one up. But the resilient thing is amazing, and seeing keys that have resilient in the title make you feel less bad about signing up to them, trying something that might brick a key typically in the first pull, but then you can just try again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I haven't experienced this myself because I'm only about half time 12s at this point. But I mean, I just like I can see the effect it's having on the community and on the game, and you know, you could predict, like, even when they announced this, I was like, oh, this is gonna be huge. People are gonna love this. I think the only question I have at this point is this a system that needs to kick in earlier? Is this the way Mythic Plus should just work in general?
mhm.
I'm undecided on that. You know, I think depletion as a thing is we've talked about this many times before. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why it's part of the system, and they've drawn this line at 12s, and it's a fair line to draw things at. But man, yeah, it feels good to have kind of the pressure off when you know you're on a resilient key. Because I mean, everyone's had that moment where like they get into a high key and like they fuck up something on the first pull, and like whether you're a tank, whether you're a healer, whether you're DPS, like everyone's experienced that. Oh, I fucked up and I killed the key on the first pull. And yeah, just like having the ability to just say, "Oh, my bad. Do you want to run it back?" And yeah, we just do that. Like that's awesome. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
I don't know. Is there anything else like major about Mythic Plus that we're forgetting? Because like I think these are the major things,
Yeah.
and I think that like all of this, like it's a culmination, right? It's
Hmm.
everything that we just talked about together is what is making Mythic Plus feel great, which is
Yeah.
why when Blizzard does this, like everything in the kitchen sink at a problem, it isn't always bad.
Yeah.
Like it worked this time. Maybe it doesn't work every time, but they learn what does. They take those things forward and they try something else. And so I am very excited. I'm very happy with what they did with season 2. I would like to see them continue to iterate going into season 3 and season 4.
Yep.
I don't know if we're going to get that because of how much iteration they did do in season 2, but it is something that I would like to be looking forward to going into season 3.
It is kind of crazy to think like you look at like Dragonflight season 2 to now, how different the system is, and it is
Mhm.
so different. Like, I mean, the War Within is going to end up being the expansion that we look at as the expanded, like the tinkering with Mythic Plus expansion. Even if they don't do any more tinkering into the next season, even if everything in season 3 is just left the way it is at this point, it still is going to be seen as the expansion that really said, okay, let's toy with how we can do the system differently.
Yeah.
And yeah, for the most part, successful. I will say to make it so we're not like glowing and positive about everything. I feel like itemization in dungeons is becoming a problem when they're like really into this very consistent, we're going to bring back old dungeons thing. I don't know if they're looking at itemization properly enough and looking at like what the item pool actually looks like. Because for example, this season, if you are a int caster that wants a two-hander, there are two in the entire dungeon pool, and they are both awful because they both have cantrips on it that take away secondary stats, and the cantrips are not good enough to justify the losing of a shit ton of secondaries that will be on your primary weapon.
Right.
And like that's not like that problem kind of solves itself via the crafting system because like everyone just crafts a weapon first and that's what they do now. But like that's not an elegant solution. That's just like we're going to do it this way. I've gotten in the month I've been back, I've gotten 2 myth track weapons in my vault. And I'm just like, nope. Like I should want a myth track weapon, right? But both of those myth track weapons are so much worse than a 3 item level lower crafted weapon that I just
Mhm.
would never do it.
Well, the other thing too is rings are pretty bad right now. A lot of
Neck
rings have
items.
like, yeah, they have like shared secondary stats,
Yeah.
which is the only reason you want jewelry. So to not have like a very good spread of those is weird.
Yeah.
Um, and trinkets for int casters and int users in general. I think healers as well. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm
N-
thinking pretty much everybody wants raid trinkets for the most part if you're an
Yeah.
int user.
So, okay. Yes. And devil's advocate here. From a trinket perspective, it feels intentional. From a trinket perspective, it feels like they have intentionally balanced the trinket pool of the season so that raid trinkets are just better in almost every single situation to funnel people into wanting to do the raid. Now maybe that's true with weapons too, right? Maybe the reason why there's no good int staff is because they want you to do the raid. And it's the
Mhm.
same thing with trinkets, and maybe it's the same thing with jewelry, and they're constantly trying to find ways to incentivize players to do different content. And we'll get into that conversation here in a minute too. And one of the ways seems to be that we're going to make these raid trinkets awesome because, yeah, I mean, from a healing perspective, like the Mister Pick Me Up, I think it's called trinket, is incredible. Like I
Mhm.
just look at my overall healing stats and it's like, holy shit, this trinket did that much. It's
Yeah.
entirely passive and it did that much. It's really, really good. And it's so much better than like any option. Like even the Signet of the Priory, which is probably like the best dungeon trinket this season, like even that is not better than my raid options. I'm using it because I only have one of the two raid options that I want right now.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I maybe this is all intentional, but if so, I don't like that. I don't like that choice.
I don't know that it is because specifically because if you're a strength or agi user, you want Sephorian Pacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a tank, you want most likely Sephorian Pacemaker and another trinket, and that can come in the form of defensive trinkets like the tank trinket out of Priory that I can't think of the name of, or the Ritual Mud out of Floodgate,
Mm-hmm.
or the bomb suit off of Gallywix. So like
Yeah.
tanks and agi and strength users have a lot more options than casters. Casters are really like if you're a caster DPS, you're like super pigeonholed into like House of Cards mug jug. Like that's
Yeah.
the two trinkets you want. And yeah, Priory trinket is kind of just like a budget version of House of Cards, so like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But that being said, the minute and a half cooldown to versus a 2 minute cooldown is huge for some classes.
Yeah.
That's the difference between lining up with every other cooldown or every third cooldown. Like that's big.
Yeah. You can't use the Priory trinket if you have a cooldown under 2 minutes. Like it's just it lessens the value of it so much.
Hmm.
If it isn't lining up with your main cooldown every time. Yeah, I mean, I have this weird thing where my main raid cooldown is 2 minutes, so I fire that thing every time I'm in raid. But in Mythic Plus, I take a talent that lowers that cooldown to a minute, and so then I have that trinket every other one, which is still nice because it still kind of lines up with every other one, but it's definitely not as good because I'm so used to just smashing that button when I use my my crane, my
GG.
wonderful Chiji. Yeah, I don't. You're right. Like, I don't. The itemization is one part of the game I really don't understand of like what they do, and like obviously there's probably people that set down and have everything charted out, right, where they know exactly how many of each type of thing is available throughout the season, or throughout all the dungeon pool and the raid pool, and they pay close attention to this thing. So like, it is weird to me to think that this thing could happen to where, yeah, it's just like no dungeon trinket is good for certain classes, and it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to assume the worst in people, but yeah, it's like it feel to me from the caster perspective, from the healer perspective, it feels very targeted. That like if you want even close to your best trinkets, you better get into that raid right away.
Yeah, the other thing too, though, I guess let's just segue into the raid while we're at this.
Sure.
Like, um, raid trinkets are super good. Raid weapons also seem like they're pretty decent this go around.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people are still rocking crafted weapons because I don't think the raid weapons are quite that much better.
Yeah.
Some of them are. There are an exception. There are a couple weapons off of Gallywix that I think are very good. And then if you can use a int or agi mace or strength mace, the best in slots is like one of the best weapons in the entire game right now
Hmm.
because of its cantrip effect. Um, but yeah, so I guess let's stop talking about loot because we kind of droned on about it a little bit and just dive into kind of like how we're feeling about the raid.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I want us to do like a deep dive on the raid at some point and talk about it in a lot of detail. And we can save
yeah,
that for a future episode when we have nothing to talk about. We have so much to talk about this week. But that being said, I really, really enjoy the raid. And we're going to have to loop back and talk about the Race to World first and the controversy behind all that I had to catch up on as well in my return to the game. Lots to say there. But all that aside, I just think the encounter designs are very fun. I mean, we talked about how much we love the aesthetic before we even started playing the raid, that we just
hmm
loved the aesthetic. And that continued through every single boss, and it continued through heroic mode for me. Like I enjoyed everything. Now I did come back to the game at a point where you guys had Prague and completed 6 of the 8 bosses.
yep.
And so I really didn't get to Prague on those 6 bosses. So like, I just say this just to take my opinion with a grain of salt because I only progged on Muggsy and Gallywix essentially. Um, and it was really fun going into those fights because I had no idea what was going on. I was just kind of winging it, just being like, "Oh, everyone's taking a lot of damage. Better press a button." Um, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the fights. I enjoyed the ideas behind some of them. I think Rick Reverb is the one of the 8 that I was just like, this is kind of lame. I don't
Mhm.
think the gimmick of this fight is very fun. The rest of the gimmicks I thought were very fun. And I once you get in the casino, I really love all 3 of those bosses. I really do. I think One Arm Bandit is so much fun. I know you have some qualms with Muggsy, and we can spend a lot of time talking on that one day. Um, but I think that's a very fun boss to heal. And Gallywix for did the traditional thing that end bosses always do, which is that like you could be walking through a raid, 2 healing it easily, and like your 2 healers aren't even sweating, and then you get to the final boss and suddenly it's like, oh, by the way, you need 3 healers now. We're
Yeah.
just going to artificially increase damage so much. That same thing happened with Gallywix. But once we figured out that and we figured out the pace of it, and it's another one of it's like Sarkareth from season 2 of Dragonflight, where the hardest part of the fight is like the very, 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 very beginning, and then once you kind of get that down, it's surprising how quickly everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
But I had fun with all of it. I think it was a really fun raid to heal. You tanked for a lot of it, so you might have a different perspective from a tanking thing, but yeah, I think it's a really great raid. I do.
I agree. I think the raid, all in all, is good. There's bosses I don't like. I like a lot of the bosses, but there are certain things as a tank that are very frustrating in some of
Hmm.
them, and then there are certain things as a raid leader that are very frustrating in some of them. You
Sure.
were talking about Rick Reverb. That's one of the more annoying tank bosses because you're having to run all over the place, and then you also need to never be in front of the boss, or you'll extend your stacks. And then it's also this like weird, like the stacks put a dot on you, so like you're not in danger when you're tanking the boss, but you're in danger once you taunt swap off. And it's just this like weird, like
Oh
you need to
yeah.
be using your cooldowns after you're not tanking the boss anymore, kind of thing, which
There,
is just awkward.
there were some of those in Nerebar Palace, and I hate that because yeah, it's
Hmm
like a lot of people's active mitigation is designed around you do it the best when you're actively taking damage. And so suddenly you're not taking damage anymore because you're not tanking the boss, and yet you're still getting hurt. And it's like, what do I do? What can I do right now? How do I deal with? Yeah, I hate that. I hate that.
So that Rick was weird. Sticks is weird because like the arena is so large and there's ads everywhere, and then like there's no reason for your raid to be stacked up. In fact, you shouldn't be stacked up. So that was annoying for tanks until like you really get your raid to understand they need to go pick up the ads before they roll into the boss, and then that just makes it trivial at that point.
Being melee on that fight sucks. It really sucks. I can't tell you how many piles of garbage I accidentally lit on fire because I'm like desperately trying to heal via being next to the boss, and it's like spread out. I was like, but I can't. I know there's trash here, but I need to hit the boss right now. I guess I'll just light this pile of garbage on fire.
That being said, I think Sticks is super fun. I like the thought process behind it. What's annoying is you can't predict if you're going to get the ball or not.
Yeah.
Tanks can, nobody else can. And so like you get into this situation where it's like, okay, my cooldown's up. Should I hold my cooldown and lose DPS? Or should I press my cooldown and lose DPS because I get the ball? And it's just this like, it's super annoying. Like to the
Yeah.
point of like, now that I'm DPSing the raid on Sticks, I play a build where I don't have cooldowns because I don't have to worry about it.
Well, let me tell you what's
that's
fun.
weird.
What's fun about that fight is the thing that triggers the people getting selected for balls is also a lot of heavy raid wide damage. And so you, as a healer, want to press your cooldown during those moments because everyone's taking a lot of damage. So then you rip your cooldown and then immediately get selected. And then you're like, fuck, I guess I'm just not healing for a few seconds. And yeah, my healing partner on that fight was during one of the attempts was like, are you enjoying solo healing? Because he was picked every single time. Like every single time he was picked to do a ball, and I was basically just healing up on myself. It was great for my parse. Not very fun for a healer though. For the other healer at least.
Well, I'm gonna save the rest of my comments that I have about Sticks because I have a lot to say about a lot of these bosses. But just to continue kind of talking about the bosses that were a little weird, Lock and Sprocket is super awesome, amazing, fun as a DPS. I'm pretty sure it's pretty good as a healer.
It's great.
I didn't hear too much complaining.
No,
but
it's awesome.
as a fucking tank, like I know I just talked about Rick Reverb having an annoying tank debuff, but I think Lock and Sprocket has the most annoying tank debuff I have ever dealt with in my entire tenure of playing this game. Like the fact, like for those who don't know what it does, every time the boss hits you, it stacks up this thing on you. And you tank the boss until you get something that you have to run out of the raid. Well, the debuff it's putting on you slows your movement speed by a percentage based on how many stacks that you have, which I played Paladin, so I can just freedom that off. So, but if I don't have freedom up, it's fucking annoying. And then the other part of it is every stack that you get increases the damage you take. And so this ability that the boss does on you that wouldn't normally do too much damage to you can just like flat out fucking one-shot you. And again, you have to take the damage when you're nowhere near the boss. And so it's just one of those things that like it might be single-handedly the most annoying thing I've ever had to do as a tank ever. And
sorry.
it's not like it's even that bad. It's just it's so frustrating to need to move. You can't move, and then there's all this other shit happening, and then there's drills in your way, and then once you finally get there, it's about to explode. And if you don't press a cooldown, you fucking die. Like there's so much shit going on that it is super frustrating.
I'm sorry. One of the fun part about being a healer is I didn't even know how it worked. I was just like, yeah, I'll throw a cocoon on you. You seem like you need it right now.
And it like once you get it, it works, and it's not that big of a deal. If your raid's coordinated enough, the drills aren't a problem. So like there are so many things that you can do to make it easier on yourself.
Yeah.
But like starting progging on it, it's a fucking nightmare. Like an absolute fucking nightmare. Yeah, I mean, that's like from a tank perspective though. Again, like I said, as a DPS, that fight fucking rules. That fight's amazing as a DPS. I love that fight.
It's so fun as a healer too.
God, what else? I have issues with Muggsy, but that's just from a raid perspective.
I think we want to like again. I want to dive deep in every single one of these bosses in a future episode. But I think the thing I'll say about Muggsy generally, And our frustration with it is we were running a very minimal sized squad. Like some days
Mhm.
we only had 10 people.
Same on Galleywigs for
Yeah.
this.
And like there, we've been, I think, kind of calling for 10-man mythic forever, like to the point where like if you want to save mythic rating or you want to boost the number of people that do mythic rating, like 10-man mythic is the way to go. And I still think that. I am very worried about their ability to design mechanics when there's only 10 people, because I do think when you see things like the Mugsy soaks and the Galleywick soaks, that become exponentially more difficult the less people you have in your raid, because they don't scale like everything else in the raid scales. So like
Mhm.
when you have 30 people, the minimum requirement of 5 people per soak is a lot easier to deal with than when you have 10 people.
Yeah.
And I am so like, again, I think 10-man mythic is what they should do. I think it will save mythic rating. I like I'll tell you right now, like where I'm at in my life, I will never set foot in mythic rating at 20 people. Like just can't personally handle the roster boss of dealing with that, and just don't think I'd be able to find a guild that was okay with my playtimes that is also willing to handle the roster boss of that thing. So 10-man mythic is the only way I'm ever going to see that difficulty mode. I am worried about it when I see things like the things we struggled with on those two bosses, which
Yeah.
is frustrating from the perspective of like, we understand the mechanics, we know how to execute them, we're doing everything we need to do, but then we just get weird stuff that happens. Like weird stuff like you try to set up soak groups and then someone is selected from the different group, and then you have to real time in like 3 seconds tell someone to hop out, and then like if they don't hop out, then you're just short people because someone has a debuff and you need to like, it's just like it's unforgiving in a not fun way, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
That being said, I do think the fight is fun. I
It's really
do
fun.
think Muggsy and Gallywix were fun, and like the fact that we were able to solve it with small groups means that it is doable,
Yeah,
and
we
it
did
was
it.
a challenge for us, and it was fun
Yeah,
to figure out.
yeah.
Um, I the only other comment that I have about this raid that I'm gonna say is somewhat negative is on One Arm Bandit. They did this really fucking like, I don't know why they did this, but the tank hit drops a pool on the ground. And if the tank like runs into an already existing pool and tries to drop the new one there, it does this weird like slides out from under the initial pool and then like keeps going until it wouldn't be overlapping. And there's no indication that that's going to happen. And there's no, honestly, in my opinion, there's no fucking reason for that, because you're already standing in an area where you're taking heavy damage and trying to drop something. Like, I feel like we could have just let it be, but that was just weird. I don't know why they did it. I'm assuming it's just so that you can't cheese the boss, but
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be area denial, right, as the fight goes on. And if you're able to just drop them all on top of each other every time, then it essentially stops being that. And so that seems like a coded method of preventing you from doing that. But maybe, I mean, instead of doing that weird interaction, why can't they just be like, hey, if you stand on top of another pool when you drop this, you die? And like,
yeah.
guilds would figure out very quickly, okay, I'm just not going to do that then. And then
Yeah.
it works exactly the way you would want it to.
That's what my suggestion would be, because like the fact that like it visually looks like it drops where it's supposed to, and then like 20 seconds later you see it like it's creeping out from under the other pool, and then now it's suddenly under an ad that you need to kill, was really weird when we were progging.
See, I didn't
Uh,
know that, but now knowing that, I understand some of the stuff I witnessed during that
yeah.
fight a little bit more. Man, the last thing I want to talk about for the raid very briefly is the renown track, because this was a new thing they added this season, and I want to do like a full review of this thing eventually. I kind of feel disappointed by it. Um, I guess, and this is again coming from a person who missed the first 4 weeks of the raid. I was 4 weeks behind, and I've played for a month and killed every boss just about for a month and I'm still behind. And I kind of don't understand why at this point. Like if you've been getting your max renown, you should be a 9, a level 9, and I'm still a level behind. And I kind of don't understand why I am. And also, I think the track is too long. I guess the expectation that people are going to raid every week for the entirety of the season, in retrospect, feels like a lot to me.
Yeah.
um Especially if the catch up mechanic isn't working the way I thought it would, right? Like I guess in an ideal world, because like I want the mount at the end of the reward track, right? It's a cool mechanical dinosaur. I want it. And right now I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that
Hmm.
actually. Because I don't know if I'm going to be raiding every single week for the rest of the season. And like
Yeah.
the idea that if we miss, like if we take a month off, like if we as a guild decide like, okay, we've got AOTC, we've re-cleared like 5 or 6 times, and like no one needs anything from this raid anymore. We don't need anything from this raid on our alts anymore. Maybe we'll just take a little break from raid and we'll come back a little bit later in the season, or we'll do like every other week, or we'll just see who's around and yada yada yada. And then suddenly you're 5-6 weeks behind on the track, and it doesn't feel like the catch up system is as fast as I thought it would be. Like and maybe this is just improper understanding of how it works on my part, but I really felt like within 2 weeks I would just be caught up to where everyone else is if I'm doing it, and I'm not just killing 4 bosses a week, right? Which is what is supposed to get you to the next level, is you only have to kill 4. I'm doing 7-8 bosses a week, and I'm still not there. And
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
The renown track is weird. Part of it is awesome, like the damage increase being linked to that and not having to do a quest every week that you have to wonder if you did it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's fun. The skip that they added, pretty good. I like that.
Go.
Um, but yeah, the track in and of itself, like 85% of it is shit I don't even know what it does still. Um, I don't really know with the catch up because I'm caught up on it. So I don't know if that's working as intended or not. And from what you're saying, it sounds like it's not. And if
Yeah.
that's the case, then that's bad because like there are mount hunters out there who are going to want to do this after the expansion's gone. And what, they're going to have to do the raid for 3 months to be able to get their fucking mount?
Maybe,
Like,
I don't know. The the other weird thing is, although it is a renown track like every other renown track, you can't see it on your renown track menu. You have to go to an NPC in inside the raid to see, like you can see your status in the reputation uh
tap.
tab. Thank you. But it doesn't look like the renown track that every other one looks like, where you can see this is what I'm going to get next. This, like, you have to go, like, why? Like that's so random to me. Like, why
Mhm.
not just put it as a renowned? You have a bar, you have a button on your map that brings up all the renown tracks. Why is it not included there?
Yeah, I agree.
And
It's
and
weird.
and maybe this is just like a system limitation of the game, but like I actually didn't realize that when I unlocked the 3% buff, that I didn't actually unlock the 3% buff. I had to go to that renowned vendor in the raid and complete a quest with him to unlock that 3% buff. I didn't know that. And so I was just running without the buff until like last week. Um,
Mhm.
and just like that's confusing and unclear, because like it's not like you get a quest that says go to this guy and turn it in, you'll get 3% buff. It's just he has a question mark above his head, and you go and you just do it's basically the same way you get like valor stones or crests when you get those from renowned. I mean, it's the same way all the other renowned rewards work, I guess. But this
Yeah.
one, because it was just like, hey, you just get more damage, I in my head I just decided that I thought that you would just get it, and it seems a
I
little clunky. I don't know.
I think this would be less of an issue if they didn't just tuck the NPC somewhere away that you would never interact with them regularly on your path through the raid.
Yeah,
Like if it was at the bottom of the stairs or like right at the doorway where you would go to kill Vexy, I don't think it would be as big of a deal. But the fact that it's up the stairs and like you don't know to even be looking for that person unless you've looked for them before or been told about them, I think that is making this worse. But I do think that what you're saying is something that they need to address as well. Like, hopefully, maybe in the future, we can see something where it just gives this to you instead
Yeah.
of having to like go turn in a quest. I don't know though, because for the resilient keystones, you have to go do a quest to get that.
Really?
And so, like, it's probably just a
Yeah, it's got to
limitation
be a
of the
system thing.
system.
Yeah. I mean, certainly. I guess, and maybe I'm just wrong about this, but why is the vendor locked behind the raid? Like, why can't we just see the vendor in the hotel when we're not in the raid instance? Like,
That's a good question.
why? Like, so like, because like a lot of times, like you get together with your group and you're in the raid and then you start pulling, right? You get in the raid and then you're like, go, go, go. And there's like not a lot of time for you to like notice. Plus, like we get so many exclamation points on our mini map that like we're just kind of in exclamation mark blindness. So, it's like that term, like when you get too many alerts, like alerts themselves just like lose all meaning and you stop paying attention to them, you just drown them
Yep.
out. It's the same thing. Like there's way too many exclamation points everywhere that I've just stopped paying attention to them. So if I look at the mini map, I don't actually notice, oh, there's an exclamation point there in the raid. Maybe that's something important that I should go figure out what that does.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the system could use work, and you're right. It's probably a lot of system limitation stuff built into it that they're kind of having to work around. But hopefully they find a way to do a little bit better. I mean, it's also just it's a new thing, and so like in the next, if they do it this, even if they do it the same way in the next season, like we'll have learned knowledge of it, and my complaints will probably just go away that way because I just know, hey, when you get the next buff, you have to go actually immediately run and turn in a quest to actually get that buff.
Yep.
Uh,
Uh, so raid wise though, like we talked about things that were weird or that we didn't necessarily like, but I think all in all, like this falls into the fact that this season is still very good.
Yeah.
And the raid is included in that, but like I don't know, I feel like Scott and I always have this mentality of like we want the game to be the best that it can be, but we also don't want to be overly negative about like stupid shit.
Yeah.
But we do need to call out things that are annoying and things that need to be improved or they're not going to get improved.
Yeah.
And so like don't take us harping on these things that we feel like should be improved as like oh, we hated the raid, we hate season 2. That's not what it is at all. Like everything about this season, the aesthetic, the raid, the Mythic Plus experience, like everything has been phenomenal and it's been infinitely better than it was in season 1 in my opinion. But
Agreed.
there's still areas to improve the game,
There
and there
always
always
are.
will be.
Yeah, there's always
Yeah.
going to be. Yeah, I mean, this is easily one of the best seasons I've played of this game ever. And I just remind everyone I came back in Shadowlands, so my sample size of that is rather limited. But like, it's better than any of the Shadowlands seasons. I think maybe Dragonflight season 3 beats it, maybe. But that was a really really fun season that I had a really lot of fun with. But like that's it, man. Like
Mhm.
it's a really good season. It's a really fun raid. It's really fun dungeons. Yeah, it's I'm a fan. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. So yeah, even with our little, you know, ticky tacky problems, I think they're killing it for sure.
I do think that we do have to talk about some things that aren't necessarily going in a good direction, though, Scott. And so that brings me kind of to 11.15 and furthermore 11.17. So
Yeah.
let's talk about 11.15 because it's here. And really, like, my main takeaway from this patch is like, unless you're leveling characters, this patch is pretty underwhelming.
So I've asked this question before, and I'm going to ask it again. Just generally, it's like a rhetorical question. What do people that don't do Raid or Mythic Plus enjoy about this game? And like, I think at the beginning of an expansion, there's always the fun part. We talked about the beginning of the War Within, how fun it was just to explore these new zones, and the zones were beautiful, and the storylines were captivating. Great. This patch introduced a world event and a series of weekly quests, and I'm just like, does anybody find this fun? because like they're at best harmless and
Hmm.
quick, which is exactly what they are. It's like it's just another world event. It's a world event like every world event you've played in this game, where it's like a shit ton of people and you just go from area to area and you fucking kill everything in 2 seconds, and then you move on to the next area and more stuff spawns, and then it like takes a counter ticks down for like 2 minutes, and you're like, Jesus, I wish this counter would tick down a little faster because we're just like wiping out these enemies the second they spawn, and it's meaningless, and like none of any of the buttons I'm pressing matter except I'm frantically pressing them because I want to make sure I get credit for this so I don't have to do this again. And I'm just like, why is this fun? Like, I guess like the new rep and having something to try to build up and getting rewards as you build up, like that part of it is fun. But the actual activity that you're doing to build those numbers up is so boring, and none of your buttons matter. Nothing you're pressing is doing anything. And I'm just like, I don't understand. And I want to. I'm not disparaging people that if that's the only part of the game they play, they're out there. There's a lot of them out there. Probably the majority of people, actually. Some of them might even be listening to us right now. I just don't get it. I
Yeah,
just think it's boring. And I think that they've done like an old Blizzard mistake with this patch where they had all these new things and then they just arbitrarily decided to time gate them.
that's
And
my biggest complaint about this patch.
it's like, so all we have right now, the week of the patch, is a boring shitty world event and a new bar to fill to get a new mount at the end of it. And that's it. And it's like, this isn't anything at all,
Hmm.
actually. And yeah,
The
eventually we're gonna get the horrific visions, and I'm actually kind of excited about that because I didn't get to do that originally. So like getting to tinker with this new thing that is sort of connected to player power, sort of. But yeah, then I learned a week before patch that, oh, that's not actually coming on patch day. That's gonna come arbitrarily weeks later. For why? No reason other than we don't have enough content to cover this gap, and so we're gonna artificially stretch this stuff out. Terrible choice. Terrible choice.
Yeah, the time gating thing for the visions is the thing that like really pissed me off the most. Like I'm not even that excited for the visions, but this is the thing that they were saying is coming in 11.15 and you're going to
Yeah.
get this and they're going to be awesome, and then they got nerfed to where they're not shit, and then now it's not going to be out for like a month, and it's just I don't know. I feel like it really missed the mark here. And I think that the new rep is cool. The Arathi are probably some of my favorite of the factions that were introduced
Sure.
in this expansion. And the premise of what we're doing is awesome, and leading up to the new raid is awesome. But that being said, like Scott said, the actual doing of the content is boring. And there's not much to do there for a main. Obviously, this is meant for catch up gear. But then I was talking to somebody, and I haven't done the event very much. So, like, don't take my word as gospel on it. But, like, you get these boxes, and we're supposed to get champion gear from the catch up event. But the boxes give you veteran gear. And the only way to get champion gear is to buy gear from a vendor. And so, like, at that point, the additional items that you're getting are kind of pointless because you're just going to be replacing them with champion gear with currency that you're already getting doing this thing. So like it's very awkward. It's a very awkward way to go about it. And I think that generally the way that this is done best is kind of like they did leading into the War Within, where like you fly around the zone, you do all these things, all again, that was all boring as fuck too, but you're getting random drops that are the same item level as the things that you can buy from the vendor. So like it kind of speeds the process along a little bit,
Yeah.
which like it's supposed to be catch up. It should be fast for your ults anyways. Why are we making it slower than it needs to be, giving gear out that we're eventually just going to replace anyways with gear that you are also getting from the same system? Is just very odd.
Yeah. And in a zone that you've already explored.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's technically story behind it. It's the Nerubi, like the a splinter Nerubian faction of the people that when we defeated the queen, there was consequences of that, turns out. Like from a lore perspective, neat. But the actual how that actually plays out in the beat to beat of the gameplay is meaningless because it's just spider mobs that you kill in 2 seconds or less. Yeah. I mean, it's to the point where like you start to sit back and wonder, like, would it have been better if they just like didn't do a patch?
Yeah.
I mean, and again, this is coming from the perspective of someone that's a month behind everyone else. So like I am still freshly like pushing keys and leveling up and doing, so maybe I would have a different perspective if I had played the entire time and I'm like, oh, I'm really ready for something new. You need to give me content now. I don't feel that way right now, especially when the content is this. And it's just like either just delay the patch till everything is ready, or just don't. Like there's nothing saying you have to have an 11.1.5 that comes out at this exact moment that it's coming out. Like I know they're trying to do this thing of this regular cadence of content that we're going to continually, but it's like it's the same thing that they did with like the Gilneas quest, right? The kind of freeing of Gilneas or whatever, that it was just a story quest that had a numbered patch to it. And I enjoyed that quest because it was like, compared to this, I think it was the fun kind of game design that the world stuff does, where like you're actually going through a story with characters and going step by step through it. But that was just like over in 40 minutes, and people were like, that's it, that's the patch. And it's just like, maybe it's better if we just don't do this.
Yeah. So I will say on the upside of this patch, they did. This has an upside and a downside to it. They did add in the ability to level quicker, which I think is ultimately, in my opinion, more useful than the catch-up gear they're giving people. Because like if you've done any amount of delves and you've gotten your delve track even remotely high, you can buy veteran gear right now. And so like getting champion gear from a currency from doing something that you don't really like doing when you could just do delves and get like champion and hero track gear from that and then go into Mythic Plus is weird. You can craft 629 items with a crest that you can buy from the vendor right next to the guy you craft shit from. And it's just like all of those things. Like, I don't think we really need this, but where the catch up is actually good is they're doing another XP increase. And this is an XP increase from 1 to 70 and then 70 to 80. We now have time walking this week as well. So it's like kind of double dipping there, and you're getting increased rep for Dragon on lands stuff. So like,
yeah,
the leveling part of it is good.
And for the War Within, it's like 100% increase in rep gains for all the War Within renowned tracks and a 200% for all the Dragonflight renowned tracks. Like I'm for that. Yeah, I mean like especially for the old stuff, like grinding rep for old factions that aren't going to give you anything but trying to finish the rep bar and maybe get a mount or something. That taking as much time as it did when the game came out is silly. And I'm even for it for like the current reps too, because like I haven't done any rep grinding in the War Within yet, so I have not maxed any of the renowned tracks with any of these reps, and so like that's like, oh cool, maybe I'll do that one day. I think the XP leveling thing is so silly though, because it's already so fast. Like it's you level so fast now, and every time they introduce a new thing that goes, hey, you're gonna level faster, I'm like, dear God, how could it be any faster than it already is? But yeah, that's not a bad thing. Ultimately, the thing that pisses me off, like you said, is just when you time gate something, you are sending out a message that says, I am artificially limiting your ability to do this for seemingly no reason.
Or it's not ready, which is not a good message to be sending either.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, it's a patch. Like, don't call this patch 11.1.5 if it's not ready when the patch releases. Don't call it that. Say this is part of another patch. Say this is part of 11.1.7, and maybe that's actually what they're doing. But when they put the roadmap, the stupid thing that they put up, this was listed as the 0.5 patch of the season, and Horrific Visions and everything was going to be part of it. and they didn't do that. And it's just like, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It's not great.
I mean, shit, at this point, by the time the Horrific Visions open, it's gonna be 1117.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not even a part of 1115 at that point. Like, sure, the content was added to the game physically, but that doesn't mean shit if we can't interact with it. So,
Yeah,
like,
and we're about to talk about all the stuff they're going to add in 1117, and I think you're right. The Horrific Visions are hitting at about the exact same time, and that almost seems worse because it's like we're about to open up all this new stuff. You're going to get further item advancement on your gear when this patch comes out. Oh, also there's Horrific Visions. So it's like, well, no, I don't have time to do Horrific Visions now because I have to run Mythic Plus because all my shit just got more tracks and I need to do that. And it's like, wouldn't it have made more sense for Horrific Visions to come out when you didn't have more tracks on your gear to grind advancement for? Yeah, like it that kind of thing, that kind of overlap makes me think that they just fucked up timing and it just wasn't ready. And this is not artificial time gating. It's just like, we need to launch this patch, but this thing isn't ready. So we're just going to delay it. Yeah.
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 So let's talk about 1117. And I don't know where to start with this. What I have down on our like outline is starting with the NARS. But like, is that even where we want to begin? Like, what's the first thing we should cover with 1117?
I think Dinars is the biggest hot button item of the week. And so naturally, we are going to cover it 70 minutes into our podcast. It's the thing everyone's talking about. So we're going to cover it behind a giant wall of us talking. I think it's the biggest part of this patch and this like turbo drive. We looked it up beforehand and then I immediately forgot what it was called. So is it Turbo Boost? Thank you.
Yeah.
This thing they're calling Turbo Boost, and it's a really interesting thing that I want to talk to you about. The thing we have to talk about first is the dinar system coming. So let's, in case anyone listening doesn't know, they're called puzzling cartel chips, and the way they're going to work is you will get one a week for killing at least 4 bosses in the raid. You need 3 to purchase an item, and you will get a total of 9 now. When they first released it, it was you will get a total of 6, so you can get 2 items. Then in the outcry from people and the anger from people, they said, okay, well, your first week, you're just going to get 3. So week 1, you'll get 1 item. And then from there, it'll take 3 weeks to get your next. And from there, it'll take 3 weeks to get your next. And then you'll be done. You can only, so this is the thing that I didn't understand that I heard someone else say. So you can only get loot. You can only turn these in for loot from the raid for bosses you have killed. Now, what I thought was the case was you had to kill it on that specific difficulty to get it. Apparently, for LFR through heroic, you only have to kill it on any of those difficulties, and you can get the heroic version. But for Mythic, you have to kill it on Mythic to be able to buy the Myth Track version of that gear.
That pisses me off so much more than I was already pissed off. Oh my God.
So it's an interesting system, right? Like, so people are very, very, very mad at this. Like, people are very, very, very mad. And what I want to do here is I actually want to go back in time and I want to look at, so we call these dinars because that's what they were called when the system was first introduced in Shadowlands Season 4. And I want to go back and look at actually what they were, because I don't know if you even remember what they were.
I do.
Okay. So for everyone that maybe has forgotten, the way dinars worked originally was for your first one, you needed to kill 30 bosses to get it. There you got a quest, and the quest said kill 30 fated bosses, and then you get your first chip or dinar. And then the next one was kill 15 bosses, and you get your second one. And the last one was kill 5 bosses, and you get your third. And you can go to a vendor, I think it was just trinkets and weapons, right? And maybe
Yeah, probably any other rare item too. I don't
yeah.
actually remember if there were like rare capes or anything like that in Shadowlands.
Yeah. So there's vendors you can go to, and you get the normal mode version of the gear from that. And then if you wanted to get the mythic or heroic, remember there weren't tracks because this was still in Shadowlands. But if you wanted to get the mythic or heroic version, you had to kill mythic or heroic bosses to get a currency that you could then use to turn your normal mode thing you bought into the heroic version or the mythic version. And I think you needed like 20 of each
Yep.
difficulty level currency to do that. So like essentially to get your first mythic level item, you had to kill like 50 bosses, which is like a kind of an absurd amount of bosses. And then it went down from there. So like I think the problem is we had that system, which was clunky. Like it was the first time they had done anything like this, and so it was kind of cool. But it was also like super clunky and an absolute mess. And then, and the reason why I think everyone is mad is because in Dragonflight Season 4, they introduced a new version of this, and I've actually forgotten what it was called now.
Antique bronze bullions.
There you go. It was the bullions. And yeah, and the way it worked in Dragonflight is bullions dropped from anything, right? I think it was raid. Was it still raid only? I think it was
I'm
raid
pretty
only.
sure it was raid only. I actually don't remember if you could get them from Mythic Plus or not.
I don't think so.
That.
I think it was still you needed to raid, but it could drop.
But you could get it from LFR.
You can get it from LFR. Yep. And so every boss had a chance of dropping these bullions. You'd only get a certain number of bullions per week. And then there was a vendor you could go in to turn in your bullions for to get a piece of gear. That gear was on its own separate track. It was like time, whatever. It was all time themed. So it was like timeless track or whatever. And that track, the end of that track was essentially the equivalent of mythic max level gear. Mm-hmm. But anyone could get it. You could do LFR and get the item, and then if you had enough crests, you could level it up all the way. And so that, I think, is the system that everyone had in their head when they were imagining what this would be. Because they were like, well, it's going to be what they did last time. And so everyone is going to get to, you can do LFR bosses, you get the currency, you get the chips, or even like in its original thing, it was just, once your renown track is high enough, you get a chip, right? Like that was in their original design of it before they took it out of the renown system. It was like a reward for your renown, which, as we know, you get renown from killing bosses on any difficulty. And then you get an item, and then you have the in-game leveling up of items system that you could then, so everyone could get late in the season, could get a mythic version of their best trinket or their best weapon or something. And everybody just assumed that is what the system was going to be. But that is not what the system is. What the system is, pure and simple, is just a bad luck protection system. So if you are clearing mythic bosses every week and you have had bad luck about getting your trinket, either it hasn't dropped or you just haven't won it in your guild or whatever, this system will add determinism to that loot pool, that you will eventually get that trinket no matter what. What it is not is an ability to get everyone their best trinkets and weapons. I mean, that's right. That's end of sentence, right? It's just like that's what it's not. And arguably, you could make a case that that's never what they wanted it to be. And I want to step back here because I just talked a lot. I want you to talk now, but we have been asking for a deterministic loot system in this game since we've been doing the podcast, that there should be some form of bad luck protection in this game, because it is very, very frustrating to just kill something over and over and over again and know that you have as equal of a chance to get it on attempt 99 as you did on attempt number 1. it
Mhm.
sucks. It's not a good feeling. And we've looked at Final Fantasy 14 favorably of like, this is the way to do it. You can get the drop and get the thing, but also every time you kill it, you get a token, and eventually you get enough tokens and you just get the reward. So like, what's getting lost in the anger and outcry about the system is the fact that adding determinism to the game is good.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they did it.
That's the main thing that I wanted to say. Like, I am going to complain about this because I feel like they did it in the most like bass backwards way possible. But all in all, it's a good thing. Like this in if we just encapsulate it and keep it like this forever, and this is what it is every raid tier going forwards, we are still in a better situation than
Yes.
we were in season 1.
Yes.
And so like it's a good thing. Like deterministic loot and having a way to get an item at which you couldn't have gotten. Like, for example, Spymaster's Web last season. That was like needed on so many different casters. And there were so many people that I knew that still hadn't gotten it. And we were months into the season. And
Yeah.
so, like, this would solve that problem for them. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is 110% a good thing. Now, what I don't understand is one, why are we punishing people? I guess it's not even really a punishment. Why are we telling people they can't upgrade it like they did in season 4? Like, that's weird to me because they had a system for that. They got everybody used to that system. They made crests and flight stones even better going into 11.17. They're increasing the number of tracks or upgrade levels on each track in 11.17. Like, this to me seems like that is just like an antithesis to everything else that they're doing in 11.17.
Yeah.
So like that is like the main reason it pisses me off. I know a lot of people are annoyed at the fact that they can only get 3 items and you can't keep getting more. There are people annoyed at the fact that you only get it from raid, which like I agree that it would be nice to see people be able to do Mythic Plus and still get some raid items.
Yeah.
But it was never intended to be that. It has never been that in the past. So like I feel like it's a little off your rocker to assume that that was what this was going to be this time.
Yeah.
Like it's
But-
not.
but I think what a Mythic Plus only person would say is like, well, yeah, maybe I didn't expect me to just be able to get it just from doing Mythic Plus, but like the being able to just run LFR every week really quick, just kill some bosses really quick in a queue system, get the thing, and then be able to get my raid loot, like, is so much simpler.
Sure.
And that's what I was expecting to do. And yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what this is a failure of communication and expectations not meeting design philosophies. I think, like you said, we brought a lot of expectations on what we thought this was going to be from the iteration on this system in the season 4s. And yeah, and there's a part of me that is thinking Blizzard is like sitting at their headquarters right now going, why did they expect it to work that way? We never told them it was going to work that way. And it's like, yeah, but you never told us it wasn't either.
Mhm.
Like, you kind of like just the fact that everyone calls these things dinars, even though they haven't been named dinars since for like 2.5 years, like makes it very clear the comparison point that these things are being measured against. That this was the system that was introduced with dinars. It was iterated on in bullions, and then we saw it in puzzling cartel chips or whatever, and it carried with it a lot of assumptions on what it was and was not going to be. And and the way they fumbled the bag here, because they put it in the renowned track and they took it out of the renowned track and they didn't say anything. So people are like, oh my God, why did they take it out of the renowned track? And they're like, no, don't worry. We're taking it out of the renowned track because we want to be able to more carefully control when it's released to you. And then I think they even said it was coming in 11.15, and then it just like mysteriously disappeared from 11.15 to the point where people were like, oh my God, they've gotten rid of it again. And then they had to come out with another thing that was like, oh no, we haven't gotten rid of it. It's just not coming out in the patch in a week. We're going to have more information for you later. And then the patch came out, and then like the dead of night, like the day after the patch came out, like when the US government is going to do something bad, they always will like do it on a late on a Friday night because no one's watching the news on a Friday night. Like it's essentially what they did. To hide the news of this. And like it's like they on some level they had to know they were about to disappoint people.
Mhm.
And then they came out with a statement after the fact, where they thankfully like listened to the feedback of, you're going to introduce this new system and then tell people they have to wait for 3 weeks to use it to collect enough chips. So they thankfully responded to that with the change to you get 3 right away. But then also like said, this was never intended to be a thing where you just got myth track gear. Like, why did you even think that? You shouldn't have
Mhm.
thought that. And it was like, well, on the one hand, I sympathize with that because they did never specifically say that. On the other hand, they have to know their community a little bit better than that at this point and know what expectations were.
Well, it's especially annoying because I've been asking for them to remove tracks for a while now. Like everything should just drop on a track. Crest should be your limiting factor, not
Yep,
whether you get the item on the right track or not. So like
I agree.
that's frustrating to me. I do also want to touch on how like odd it is that it's going to cost 3 too, because like let's take a step back, right? May something, early in May, a single digit number. I think May 6th, the Hall of Fame is closing,
Yeah.
right? And so May 6th, Hall of Fame is closing. 20 days later, we're introducing these puzzling cartel chips. So almost a month later, we're
I thought they were
introducing.
coming out on the 13th. Am I wrong about that?
I thought it was the 26th. Oh, is it the 26th you'd be able to get your first item?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that what it was?
originally it
Okay.
was. Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was going to say, like, initially we were in a situation in which you would not be getting your first item from this until 2 months after Hall of Fame closed, which is like, that's too fucking late.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, that's too late. So if it is happening like right around when Hall of Fame is closing, I think that's more acceptable.
Well, I think it's still going to be a week after Hall of Fame closes.
It's still too late though. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying that these items need to be used for Hall of Fame guilds. So like it can still be later in the season, but like what? That's going to put us 3 months after 4 months after this raid's released? 3 months, three and a half.
3. Yeah, 3.5 maybe. Yeah.
So I don't know. That still feels like we're missing the mark a little bit too much.
Yeah. I agree. I don't like the timing of the stuff is so hard, and this is one of those areas that I will grant them a little bit of clemency because like this is the first time they've put this in a regular season, and like they're gonna need to tinker with what is the appropriate time to put these in. And I hope they'll like experiment and iterate, right? And they'll say, okay, they'll put it in now, and then they'll be like, did that work? Was that too soon? Was it too late? And they'll figure that out. I mean, it's so funny because you could do a thing like what Final Fantasy does is you need, how many of the totems do you need to get the weapon out of the expert?
10.
Do you need 10?
Right? It's 10 kills of the first one and then 5 kills of any future one, right?
Yeah, I think
Whatever
that's right.
is.
And it's just like it's so funny that like, okay, so we're let's say 3 weeks right now, we're like 3 months out from the launch of the raid, so let's call it 12 weeks, right? I don't know if that's accurate, but let's call it 12 weeks. And then let's say, okay, puzzling cartel chips are in the game from day 1, but you need 12 chips to cash in for your first item, right? And that like that way, even from week 1 of the raid, you feel like
you're moving towards something.
You're like, that's actual bad luck protection, right? It's just like every time I kill this boss, I've got a chance to get the loot from the very first week, but if I don't, at least I'm getting my backup chip, and
Yep.
I eventually will collect enough backup chips that I will be able to cash them in. Maybe that's better than just artificially just dropping backup chips in 3 months later and then saying, oh, by the way, now if you could kill the boss again, I know you've been killing the boss for 3 months, but go do it again and then start collecting your backup chips now. I think that feels different. And maybe the
Yeah.
better version of the system is one that just puts it in from the very beginning, like Final Fantasy does it.
I will say also, I think Blizzard is doing this thing that they do a lot where they're just arbitrarily putting a cap on something. Like, why does there need to be a cap of 9? Like, why can people not continue to earn these? Why does it
Yeah,
matter?
what's the
Final Fantasy
fear?
lets you keep getting totems. Like,
What,
even after you get all of the items you can get from the boss and you get the 100 totem mount, you still get totems. Like, sure, they're useless at that point unless you buy something for an alt job, but like, why does it matter? Why do you
yeah.
care?
What's the fear here? You're right. Because like, okay, so you get 9 after 7 weeks
Hmm.
and then you're done. And it's like, okay, so what's the harm if after an additional 3 weeks I get another, right? Like that's so late in the season. And like you've already got your 3 best items, right? Like what everyone is going to do is they're going to get the, if both of their best in slot trinkets are from the raid, they're going to get both of their trinkets. They're going to get a weapon. And the difference is maybe if like the weapon isn't as good or one of the 2 trinkets isn't as good, you'll get the ring, right? The very rare ring. I think there's that drop from Muggsy. I can't remember where that ring drops
No,
from.
the Gallywix.
Gallywix. Okay. So that'll be what everyone will get. And it's like, what difference does it make if after that I also get like a cape?
Yeah.
or like a chest piece or like
Or
yeah, I mean
something
just
for a different role.
yeah.
Like, I get my
Right.
DPS
No.
trinkets, but then I want bomb suit for tanking.
Man, that is the one thing that I think this alt friendly game has completely dropped the ball on is the idea that some people don't like to play alts. They like to just swap between specs. And it's so funny because that was like the original alt friendliness was respecking and having
Mhm.
respecking and dual specialization and allowing you can be both of them. And now it's like when we put these limit on things, and I experienced this in season 1, by the way, when I swapped from tank back to healer because I had used all my crafting stuff on tank gear, and then it was like, all right, I want to switch to healer. Okay, I'll make myself a weapon. Oh wait, I don't have those things, and there's no way to get your I forget what they're called now. Your spark. There's no way to
Mhm.
get your sparks like back. Like you can't like I can't like do like here destroy my weapon and give me back my sparks. The game doesn't let you do that. And like same thing with these puzzling cartel chips, I'm guessing is like you can't buy something with cartel chips and then 2 weeks later decide you want to respec and therefore you want to buy something else with them and exchange the item for it. Like there's no system for that. So yeah, like
Mhm.
dual specialization now is very not great, especially when we're talking trinkets and weapons, because those are the things that definitely change based on your spec.
Yeah. I do think, like I said, I think they missed the bag a little bit on this one. I think it's
Yep.
something that they're going to need to continue to iterate on, and to bring it all around full circle again. Like, we are still going into the end of this season and the beginning of next season theoretically in a better situation than we were in season 1. So like,
Yeah.
I don't get too caught up in all of the hustle and bustle around this because it is still going to be better. That being said, don't stop championing for it to be better either. Just try and take everything with a little bit more foresight on what is actually happening here.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I think the main thing that they did with this that is causing a lot of grief is the upgrade track change. And
Yeah.
outside of that, if they would have just dropped it and allowed us to upgrade like they did in season 4 of Dragonflight, I think there'd be a lot less commotion around
Yeah.
this.
I will say though, I completely agree with you. I think people need to calm down. like,
Yeah.
like, I understand being a little annoyed by this. I'm a little annoyed by it. I was fully expecting that I would be able to get the myth track version of my best in slot trinkets at some point, and I was like kind of jazzed about that. It's like this is gonna be great. I'm gonna have 2 myth track trinkets. It's gonna be awesome. A little disappointed. People need to calm the fuck down. Like sometimes people are like so overblown, like worst decision ever, betrayal. It's like calm down, y'all. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like it's just not.
So, Scott, I do have to ask you because we're right at about how long we normally keep this show.
Hmm.
Should we talk about crests and flight stones real quick?
Let's just go through the other things that are changing as part of turbo chart boost charge turbo this
Yeah, yeah,
race
you had
racing
it.
snail.
Turbo boost. So crests. I guess flight stones are becoming warbound tradable. Which please just make this fucking change from the beginning. Like, also make it so that flight stones are never your limiting factor. Honestly, at this point, get rid of fucking flight stones. I don't give a shit about them. Your limiting factor should be the amount of crests that you could have. And let me trade my crest between my warband too while you're at it. Like, this is fucking stupid because you have a cap on it. It's not like I can give my alt over the amount of the cap of crests
Yeah.
anyways. So like fucking dumb. So flight stones are becoming warbound. That's amazing. Continue to do that.
Yeah, and
Um
also take the cap. Like, Flightstone should not cap at 2,000, and they should be
agreed.
warbound tradable. Like, it's stupid. It's like, I even if you want to make the argument that this is a necessary currency have to encourage people to do other things in the game, like, first of all, the amount of flight stones you get from doing world events is so fucking tiny that it's a waste of time. It's like, ooh, 35 flight stones. Hooray. Um, have like a world event that pops up once a week or twice a week that gives like 250 flight stones. And it's just like, people if you want to do it that way, do that, and don't cap it, and allow people to trade them amongst their warbound band. Yeah, 100%. I do either of those things or just get rid of them,
Yeah.
because fucking awful system. I hate it. Yeah,
So crests are also becoming uncapped, which
that's
is
normal about now. So yeah,
yeah. Again, like I said, I would like to see crests be able to be warband traded from the get-go because you have a cap. It's not like you're really going to be abusing this.
yep,
Like, what it would do though is it would let me get to my point on my hunter like I am right now, where I have nothing to spend gilded crests on until I get my one myth piece potentially once a week, and then I can take my gilded crests and give them to somebody else who isn't
yeah.
capped on gilded crests. Like, I
Well, yeah, I mean, it also does the thing, like, you were talking about the catch up gear for 11.15 when you want to roll a new alt, and like, is it fun to do? Like, is it like, if I want to roll a new alt, and what I want to do on that new alt is I want to run Mythic Plus, and like, so like every time I roll a new alt, I have to go through this arduous system of getting enough item level to do Mythic Plus. Why can't I just like send crests and then craft some shit and like just go right into
Mhm.
Mythic Plus? Like I don't get that. So yeah, I'm with you on this one too.
Mhm. And then the other thing that they're doing is myth and hero track and crafted items. So like, I don't know why they split this up. They made it way more confusing than it needed to be. I don't know how many people in the guild I've had to explain this to. Essentially, myth and hero track items, which is going to be the majority of what people are wearing at this point, are gaining 2 additional levels, which
Yep.
is 6 item level.
Yep.
They are also doing that with crafted items.
Yep.
It is across the board. Almost everything you are wearing is going to have the ability to gain 6 item levels. That's the easiest way to think about this. That's really all you need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's happening. And again, like I said earlier, it's encouraging people to continue interacting with the system and continuing to farm crests. I think that that is good. That being said, it's a weird way to do it and is just causing a even higher inflated item level than we already have, having the amount of raid like tiers that we have. Like, we gain so much item level from season to season at this
Yeah,
point.
it's
And like, I
absurd.
know they're just throwing it away because at the end of the War Within, they're going to do an item level reset. There's no way we're going to go over 1,000 item level and stay over 1,000 item level going into the new pat or the new expansion. So like, all of this doesn't actually matter to them. But that being said, like, we're just making it so that we're going to hit that point even faster. So
Yeah.
like, now instead of every 2 expansions we reset item level, maybe it's going to be every expansion. And like, I don't know, maybe that's not a big deal, but it feels really weird going from having how much haste did you have at the end of Dragonflight to now you have 5% and
Yeah.
that's good. Like, that's weird. It's a very weird feeling.
It's very weird, and it's very weird to like at the end of like to be like mid season 3 and then like hop on a character that you just leveled up to 80 at the beginning of the expansion and haven't touched since, and you get on them and you're like, holy fuck. Like the amount of I have to get 200 item level to catch this guy up to where everyone else is. That feels crazy. And yeah, I mean, like they've like item level was already inflated like crazy. Like just the crafting, just the crest system, the introduction of the crest system inflated item level. Then they added myth track to it, that inflated even more. Then they extended myth track, that which inflated it even more. And now we're gonna do this thing where near the end of the season we're just gonna extend it by even more. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's just like we're hitting turbo on this, which is what they're doing. And I mean, I do wonder, like, do we think, and this is just supposition because they haven't said anything, do we think this is something that they're just going to do from now on, that like at this point in the season they're just going to hit the turbo button? I think they probably are not sure about that yet either, and that's why they haven't said anything. I think they're like, well, let's try it here and see how it goes. And if it I mean the name of the game is retention. Like this is one of those things that I'm sure their Microsoft overlords are like beating on there. Like you need to keep people logged in, you need to keep people doing stuff. And yeah, adding a few more tracks on all the items you have is going to be a very effective way of getting people to keep playing the game. It will, because
Mhm.
people like item advancement. Like we like doing this. We like leveling up our gear just like we love leveling up our characters. I think it's going to work. It does do a weird thing in the competitive scene that is Mythic Plus, because like it really incentivizes a world in which it makes no sense to push really hard on keys until after we've hit turbo on a gear, because like it's just like not only is there going to be a difference between early season and mid season and just general average item level, but now like we're all going to hit a wall of what max item level is, and then suddenly at some point in the season we're just going to expand that out, and
Mhm.
suddenly everyone's going to have 6 more item level, and it's just like suddenly keys that were impossible 2 weeks ago are going to become achievable. And it's like, I mean, honestly, that's where I am right now, where I'm just like, could I push really hard to get all these 13s I need done? I could do that right now, and I probably will a little bit just because I enjoy playing the game. But like if you're a min maxer, you're just like, why don't I just like chill and wait till mid May,
Yep.
and then I suddenly am gonna get shit tons more item level, and that 13 is going to be a lot easier. That 15, wherever you're at, those 10s are going to be going a lot easier. Like wherever you're at, it's going to get easier to do it. And it's just in a competitive scene, like someone that like says, I'm going to push really hard the first month of the season, and then I have to go on vacation. And it's like, well, you're fucked now, buddy. You're game over for you. You better come back right now if you want to make title, because people are going to pass you by. I like ultimately, I'm going to enjoy getting more item level and having more grinding to do. But I am very curious if this is a thing that they're going to just do from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, the other part of it too is like people are going to look at this and they're going to be like, "Oh, well it's just 6 item level." And you're not wrong. It's 6 item level, but
That's
it's
all.
also it's 6 item level on every single piece.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing, right, is you're taking your character at its current item level, and then once this happens, you're just going to gain 6 item level.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming you upgrade every piece you have, your item level just goes up by 6, which is not insignificant. Like, that is a pretty big jump. And that is a huge jump when it comes to trinkets and weapons. Like,
Yeah.
6 item level is a lot when it comes to trinkets and weapons. So, it is, it's going to be interesting to see what this does Really, as far as like keys are concerned, I think that's going to be super cool to see. I think there's some 19s. I don't know if there's 20s that are timed yet, but once this happens, I wouldn't be surprised to see 21s, 22s, 23s get timed almost immediately after the change goes out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, which is cool. Like, and I am not like to be clear here. I am not against this whatsoever. Like, I think it's an interesting choice, and I am surprised that like they're building so many ways in which you just naturally get better at killing stuff. Like, I mean, Mythic Plus is one thing because that's a eternally advancing system. Like, this is another way of making it so more guilds get CE, right? Like
Mhm.
it is on top of the buff that they're already getting that advances over time. This is another way where we're just artificially enhancing everyone's power. At some random point in the season to clear the bosses. The thing I think is so funny is like we've already reached the point where, with the exception of like Gallywix and maybe Muggsy, like we just stomp these heroic bosses. Like we just
Yeah.
absolutely demolish them. And I'm like, can you imagine what late season with an additional 6 item level, like how quickly these heroic bosses are just going to be deleted. Like
Well, I
it's
mean,
going to
shit.
be disgusting.
How many mechanics are we skipping on Muggsy? Like,
Oh yeah.
Muggsy's one of the bosses we struggle with, but we skip half the fight because
Yeah.
of our DPS.
Yeah,
And now
we only do each side once, and then we push it um to the
intermission. Yeah.
when it berserks or whatever, when it bloodlusts. Yeah, yeah.
So that's like, yeah, having 6 more item levels is going to make that so much faster. I mean, shit, we one tank that fight and 2 heal it
Yeah.
with 12 people, 13
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's I mean it's an interesting idea. I'm excited about just having more stuff to I'm excited about my number going up, and like that is a lot of the reason why people play this game is number go up. It also consequently makes it a lot easier to get that gilded achievement where you get the gilded crest
true.
discount, um, which I'm a big fan of as a person who likes to play alts. Like it'll just make that achievement a lot easier. Um,
Mhm.
a lot easier actually. What will the top hero track gear be? It's 665 right now, so it'll be 671 will be
Yep.
top hero track. And then crafted gear will be 681, and myth track so will be 687.
Mhm.
Yeah, that all checks out. So yeah, I mean, like before, what you essentially needed was all myth track items with crafted gear in the slots that you didn't have myth track in order to get the achievement to get the discount. Now you can get there with, I mean, you'll still need some myth track stuff,
Yep.
but oh wait, I'm thinking of this wrong, right? Because it's not average item level. It's you need
It,
675 in every single slot. Yeah.
in the slot, but it is still going to make it easier in theory because you're going to be able to get to 671, which is then going to let you do higher content to
Yeah.
get the items that you
True.
need. So
True.
like it is still a snowball effect. And I mean, we're going to get to the point in the season where like you're going to have all crafted items anyways and then you're just going to get the achievement. So
Yep. 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 And I look
um
forward to it. That is the one thing. That is the one thing, by the way, I am behind on, and I feel behind on. The only thing I feel behind on in the game, as it stands right now, is I only have 2 myth track pieces because I've missed out on 4 weeks of vault essentially, and there's no catch up for that, right? Like there's just nothing. Like I just, and this is to for the last time before we close the show, to circle back to the puzzling cartel chip idea. This is another thing where I'm like, deterministic loot is great, and I'm glad we're adding it to raid. Perhaps there should be some sort of deterministic loot process for the other large pillar of the game. That people are essentially living in a world where if you are a Mythic Plus person, all you get is a dice roll once a week on 3 items out of a pool of a shit ton of items, and you have to hope you get lucky. And if you ever miss a week in that, you're just behind and there's nothing you can do about it.
I've been saying it. I'm going to keep saying it. Remove tracks from gear. Just make it one track and then make the crest drop from whatever content that you deem is the equal to mythic content.
It is interesting because the reason why they put the tracks in the first place was they did not want people farming like 2s for items, right? They did not want that. And like, there's a part of me that says, I get that. I get why you would not want that. There's a part of me that says, well, is that so bad, actually? Because like with the crest system, you can't just farm 2s and get the item out. Like, you still have to, at some point, do high keys to get the crests to level that item up there. And with the new crest system the way it is, where the more crests you get, the harder the key you do, you're incentivized to maximize crest gain via highest keys as you can possibly do. So yeah, maybe in a system we're in right now, it's no longer that bad of a thing if a bunch of people are farming 2s to get their signet and then they're going to level it up after that. Yeah, I don't know.
What's the difference between farming a 2 to do it and farming a 7 or a 6?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the difference. The people who are doing that and then going and doing the highest level content, like a 2 and a 6 is not any different from each other.
Yeah, no, good point.
Which is my argument. So I've get rid of the tracks. Make, like, if you don't think 10s or 7s are where you should be getting gilded crests because it's not the equivalent of mythic raid, then make it higher. Make the final bosses of heroic raid not give gilded crests anymore if you're concerned about that. And just kind of put gilded crests in whatever you deem is the equivalent of mythic raid. Put hero or rune crests in whatever you deem is the equivalent of heroic raid, and so on and so forth. And call it a day. Like that. That is my solution to the gearing issue that we have, and it would make Mythic Plus not feel quite so useless and waiting around for a week to get a potential 1-piece upgrade.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, ultimately they'll never do that though, because they are desperately trying to funnel people to Mythic Raid as much as possible, because it is a dying pillar of the game.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't think Raid itself is dying. I think Mythic Raiding is, and dying is too strong of a word. I think it is just increasingly becoming less attended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the strict requirement on the number of people that you need at the number that they've set is hard.
Especially with how they do lockouts in Mythic, which are like that definitely needs to change too. That would encourage pugging a little bit more if the lockout system worked like other raids did. Yeah, it's just dated.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully they'll fix it going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the Mythic Plus expansion, so maybe Midnight will be the expansion where we fix raid. Yeah.
But, all right, Scott. Well, we've gone a little over time, and maybe it was worthwhile because we haven't released an episode in quite a while. So give everybody a little bit more to go on.
They'll forgive us for the 15 minutes of overage there.
But I, as always, have a question for you guys. I want to know what your best and worst dungeons are from this season, or if you don't do Mythic Plus, or if you want to tell me both, that's fine too, what the best and worst raid bosses are for you this season. And as always, you can contact us at yellingintothevoidwow@gmail.com. YouTube is at yellingintothevoidwow. Twitter is at intothevoidwow, and Blue Sky is also at intothevoidwow.
It's really funny because you're talking about, like, if you don't do Mythic Plus, then also what are your favorite raid bosses? And I'm like, I think I saw a Reddit post the other day. It was like, someone was like, I don't like Mythic Plus. Should I quit the game? And there were a lot of people that were just like, yup.
Oh, God. Yep. Well, that's what we've become then. Okay, well, actually, you can only tell me your best dungeons. You can't tell me your best raid bosses anymore.
If you don't like dungeons, just quit the game. Get out of here. Get out of here. If you are not already subscribed to this podcast, please do so. You might be listening to this for the first time, so the phrase "we're back" means nothing to you because you didn't know we were gone. But we are back, and we're going to be releasing episodes every week for the foreseeable future, and we don't want you to miss them. So please subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and I mean, gosh, everywhere else that they're a podcast. All those places feed all the other podcasts. That's a little trick they don't teach you about in the pod streets.
It's
So
true.
we're everywhere. You can subscribe everywhere.
Also, guys, please consider liking and subscribing, commenting on the YouTube video. All of these things help us get more exposure, introduce us to new people, and let us make the content that we make here. Also, if you have any suggestions about what we should talk about in the future, I would love to hear that in the comments down below, because Scott and I have an idea for the next couple weeks, but you know what time's coming up, guys. That content drought time is going to be coming up soon, so we need to fill the void somehow.
It's the doldrums.
But as always, guys, until next week, we'll just be over here yelling into the void.